So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first day of our 9-day virtual STEM Summit. I am really excited about this. I'm Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and I am thrilled to be joined by Marie Palone. She's Director of Talent Attraction and STEM Development. We are thrilled to have you join us today for the first day of our virtual STEM Summit. We're featuring Dr. Tom Lauwers, founder and CEO of BirdBrain Technologies, along with Dr. Bambi Brewer, Director of Engineering, and Erica Hogan, Operations Coordinator at BirdBrain. So we're going to hear a lot about what they're up to. So today we have students and educators joining us from over 193 different educational institutions. We want to take this time to say thank you to each and every educator, administrator, and school staff for continuing to fight for our students and families and do the work that you've been doing each and every day. We applaud you, I applaud you, and I know everyone here deeply appreciates the commitment that you all have to this work. So at the Pittsburgh Tech Council, we work to connect the talented and curious students of our region to our members, more than 1,000 local tech companies, businesses, manufacturing firms, life sciences, and related companies that are doing amazing things. They come together to help make a region an incredible place for all of us to live, to work, and to build companies that together we're really working on changing the world. So these companies recognize all of the talent that each of you students possess and are excited about you and your future. In other words, they want us to tell all of you about some of the fun and exciting jobs that are available for every one of you to pursue right here in Pittsburgh and across southwestern Pennsylvania. I want you to also know that this is being recorded, and also thanks to Pittsburgh's PCTV, this is also being simultaneously broadcast and available on demand on PCTV's website, along with our own website. So now I am very excited to introduce you to Marie Palone, our resident science and math educator, who now helps us connect talent and offer STEM opportunities. So you're gonna love her. Marie, take things away.
Thank you, Audrey, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. As Audrey said, I'm Marie Palone, Director of Talent Attraction and STEM Development at the PTC. And today and each day of this STEM Summit, we really want maximum participation from all of you. So if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a hand and a Q&A. If you have a question, go ahead and type it in and raise your hand, and I'm going to do my very best to get your question answered. Everything is very secure, and so no one will be able to see your name or your question except for us as the hosts. If you're joining us on PCTV, we're not going to be able to see your question, only those on the webinar, but you'll be able to watch and enjoy the show. Throughout the talk today, my co-hosts, who are students just like you, Austin, you want to give a wave? And Trevor? They're going to be asking questions of all of you and of the speakers. When the time comes, they're going to throw a question up here in a moment, and you're going to be able to log in your answer for them to represent you as well. But now the time has come for me to introduce those of BirdBrain Technologies. So we have Tom, Bambi, and Erica. We're going to be talking to all of you today. I'll let you guys say hi, and then we'll do our polling questions just to see exactly what our student guests know, and then we'll get started with the show. Does that work, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody.
We have Erica and Bambi. Okay,
Hi,
so
everyone.
we want to see exactly what these students know. So Austin, I'm going to let you go first. And all right, there should be a question on your screen. Go ahead, Austin.
Hi, my name is Austin. I am 10 years old. I go to CCA and I'm in the fourth grade. Fifth, sorry. Right now, have you ever experienced some of the BirdBrain Technologies robots? If so, which one? The Finch, 2% said yes. Hummingbird, 9%. Both, 9%. Have no experience, any of the above, 80%.
Very good, Austin. Thank you. We love seeing that some of you haven't experienced them. I know that some of the STEM classrooms I've been in, they have some. So we wanted to see if you knew any of these finches and robots that you're going to see today. Trevor has another question for you. We'll let him introduce himself and ask the question. Let me put it up on your screen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Trevor. I'm a junior at North Catholic High School in Cranberry Township. And my question for you guys is, does anyone know the title of a person who has a career in designing robots? Options are roboticist, engineerist, gearist, or robo-engineer.
Thank you, Trevor. The results are coming in. Lots of different answers. I just thought this word was so cool for today, and you're going to actually get to meet 3 of them. I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results. Roboticist came in at 43%, along with a robo-engineer. Trevor, do you want to let everyone know what the actual answer is?
The answer is roboticist.
And with that, we'll kick it over to our roboticist today. So go ahead, BirdBrain, take it on.
All right. So thank you so much for inviting us to come and show our robots. So I'm Tom Lauwers. I'm the founder and CEO of BirdBrain Technologies. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what BirdBrain is and about my path to becoming the founder of the company. And then I will also invite Erica and Bambi to do the same. So BirdBrain Technologies is dedicated to inspiring deep and joyful learning for all students through creative robotics. And the way we do that is with our products, with the Finch robot and the Hummingbird robotics kit. So I have a couple of those here. This is a Finch robot 2.0, and it's a robot that you can program and learn computer science with. And so it's all about learning computational thinking, computer science, really starting in kindergarten and going all the way through college. The Hummingbird kit is like all of the guts of a robot. So it's motors and sensors, LED lights, and a controller, and kids use it to build out of arts and crafts and build things like this little zombie or this bug and flower that's lit up over here. So it's really about creativity and creative robotics and learning, learning engineering design, learning computer science, but also learning teamwork and learning creativity. And that's really what STEM is about. You know, STEM is a way for you to be creative and to empower you to change the world by finding solutions to problems. And so what we hope to do with our products and with the teachers who use our products, it's really about creating those learning experiences and learning about STEM. Now, BirdBrain Technologies is 10 years old this year. It spun out of Carnegie Mellon University, and it really spun out of 2 projects at Carnegie Mellon. One was CS Bots, which led to the Finch. It was all about designing a robot for computer science education. And one was about, one was called Arts and Bots, and it led to kind of this idea of mixing arts and crafts with robotics to engage a broad set of students in robotics and creative design and engineering. So I was a Ph.D. student at the time, and I was actually an electrical engineer. So my background is definitely in engineering and in electrical engineering. And so when I graduated, we had these 2 research projects, and I knew as the primary kind of hardware designer, I knew how to put them together. And I could see that they were already having an impact in schools, because as part of the research, we were testing them in schools with teachers, with students. So I decided, well, you know, I'm graduating, let's try to start a company. And I did not know anything about business. So I think one lesson from this is, you know, you can learn things along the way. It's useful to have schooling, definitely, but it's also useful to kind of try things and learn things. And really the most important thing that you learn from school, hopefully, is how to learn. because that's what enabled me, I guess, to build a business with no business background. So 10 years on, BirdBrain Technologies ships robots all over the world. We are in tens of thousands of schools. We estimate that almost 1 million students have used our robots at some point in a classroom, whether that's in Western Pennsylvania, as 20% of you have, or in California, or in Australia. We actually ship quite a bit of product to Australia. We have 7 employees, so we're a small but mighty team. And that team is comprised of both hardware and software developers, but also people who develop curriculum and activities, people who do training so that teachers are more effective at using the robots, so that if a teacher doesn't necessarily know about robotics, we can train the teacher and get them ready to use it in the classrooms. And then we have people who handle the logistics and shipping and all of the things that are associated with running a business. So making sure that when somebody buys something, it arrives a few days later at their house or at their school. And especially in 2020, that's certainly become a very complicated proposition, right? Because we used to ship directly to schools. Now sometimes we ship to students' homes, even if they're using the robots for their school. So it's gotten very logistically complex this year, especially. So yeah, that's kind of a brief background about me and about BirdBrain. Does anybody have any questions? I can stop for a few questions right now, or we can move on to Erica and she can show you our office.
Trevor and Austin, if you have any questions, go ahead and jump in. We did have one from our students at home there, and Jaden wanted to know, where did you go to school? Bambi thought that she might know that answer, but do you want to tell everybody, Tom?
Sure. So I grew up in California, and I moved here to go to undergraduate at Carnegie Mellon in electrical engineering, and then I stayed for my Ph.D. at Carnegie Mellon at the Robotics Institute.
All right, with that, I think we can kick it over to Erica and Bambi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica, and I work as an operations coordinator at BirdBrain. So my background is actually not in engineering or robotics. My background is actually in teaching. So I went to school to be an English teacher, actually, and also have my master's in library science to be a librarian. It sort of shifted a little bit, and I'm now working in tech, which is, it's a really good bridge, because being an ed tech company, I get to use a lot of my skills that I learned teaching and kind of use those when talking to teachers as well. So like Tom said, the operation side of things, we do a lot of the day-to-day things that the company does. So shipping out products, invoicing, placing orders. Something that I deal a lot with is like the customer service side of things. So anyone who writes into our contact us page, like I'm responsible for either answering them, or if I can't answer their question, sending them off to the person that is most able to do that. So we get a lot of like tech support questions and teachers who say, I don't really know what product to buy, which one should I get? So I really like being able to talk with the teachers and, using my background as a teacher, being able to connect with them and say, oh, I know what you're talking about here. Why don't we use this product? Some of the other things I do recently, I've started doing a little bit more of graphic design for the company, which is something that I enjoy, kind of bringing in that like artistic side of things and creative side of things. So I do a little bit of that. I also run our demo program. So if a teacher hasn't used our products before, they can borrow a robot for 60 days to kind of test it out. So kind of handling all of the organizational side of that, shipping out the robots when they get back, making sure that they're still working to be able to send out to other people as well. So I'm going to switch over my camera and give you guys a little bit of a tour of the office. Okay. Ooh. There we go. So this is our office. We recently moved here just over the summer. We downsized from a larger office to the smaller office. So this room specifically is a lot of our shipping stuff. So you can see over here, there's a ton of boxes. And along this wall, we have all of our shipping supplies. We like to keep this super organized because there's so much stuff that goes into it. You know, everything has its place. Our printer, our label printer. And one of the things I really love about this office is all of the decorations we have. So we have a lot of robots around the office. There's one over in that corner, our little dinosaur up there, our dragon over here. And then we have this nice big table for shipping, giving us a lot of space to get orders out to people. We have a warehouse that ships primarily most of our orders, but every once in a while we'll have to ship something from the office. So it's nice to have space in here to do that as well. We have some desk space here. These are only 2 desks. Since we're not in the office full time, we have just these 2, so they're shared spaces. And then in here, this is sort of our maker space side of things. So a lot of our craft supplies are stored in here. This shelf is all of the different pieces of the robots. So everything that's in the Hummingbird kit, we have here as well. So if we ever need to make a robot in the office, we have all the tools to do that. This is one of my favorite things in the office. This is a giant knit octopus that Bambi has made for an event. And it actually is programmed to light up and using some of the Hummingbird parts as well. So we're able to hang that up in here. We have our soldering table, which is sort of Tom's domain. A lot of the prototyping and stuff happens there. And the laser cutter as well, which is a great thing when we're building robots. That gives us some capabilities to make some more detailed things as well. So yeah, that's a little bit of the office. If anyone has any questions about any of that.
So I see in the chat that Ryan asked a great one, which is why we would move to a smaller office, which is, I think, is a great question. So I'm sure, Ryan, it has not escaped your notice that 2020 has been a little bit strange for everyone in terms of work environments, and that was the same for us. So in March, Tom sent us all home and we started to work from home. You will see that I'm speaking to you from my dining room here. And that worked out really well for a lot of people. And so we decided that for the time being, we would all stay working from home. That meant we didn't need as much office space, but we still did need some. I don't wish to house the laser cutter in my dining room. Tom does not want to move the soldering table to his house. So Erica doesn't want to ship things from wherever it is that she works from in her house. So we still did need some space. So we executed the move so that we still had some office space, but we're saving money by not paying for space that we weren't using.
Thank you for answering that. And there was also a great question here from Marcella. She said, what kind of results are you seeing from people and students who use your products?
So I'll answer that one. So I think it depends a lot on the way that the products are used. To bring up one example that I like, so with the Hummingbird Robotics kit, it was spun off of Carnegie Mellon, but then CMU was able to continue doing research on it and on its effects for the next 5 years. And one of the things they found was around talent identification. So if you have an interdisciplinary project in a classroom where you are doing some robotics and some computer science and some engineering, but you're also mixing that with potentially an art class or an English language arts class, you will see that the teachers actually realize that if they see their students kind of in a new light. So if you have an English class and you're an English language arts teacher, you'll see your students, the side of your students that is all about writing and reading and language. And you may not see that, wow, this student is actually really interested in computer science, or they have this great logical mind, or they're extremely creative, but not necessarily with words. They're really creative with imagery or something like that. And that allows you then as a teacher to say, okay, I know something new about my students. And I can teach to that. I can use that in a way to engage them with my content, with my core content. So that's just one example, but there's kind of many different ways. I think really what it's about is this infusion of creativity and 21st century learning into the school day, and trying to do that in a way that still ties to the core curriculum, to your science, math, English language arts, and social studies, but to also kind of increase teamwork and creativity.
Thank you, Tom. If there's no other questions, Trevor, Austin, or anyone in the chat, did you have a question, Austin? Okay, I can tell.
What advice do you have for a kid like me who wants to get into robotics?
Well, I think one of the nice things about growing up now is that there are just tons of different options. So, what we are really about at BirdBrain Technologies is trying to get robotics into the school day and trying to make it a part of your school day, so that actually it would just happen naturally. Maybe in 6th grade, your teacher would have a class with robotics. But if that's not the case, there's many different after-school programs that are out there. There's summer camps. So I think joining any of those, regardless of whether they use the Hummingbird or the Finch or Legos or Spheros or whatever is out there, there's just so many robots that are out there now. I think it will provide you with a nice introduction. Now, the other thing that you can do also is to learn a little bit of coding, and that is something that you can do on your own. I mean, there are some wonderful websites out there, Scratch and Code.org, and learning that to think like a computer, so learning computational thinking, learning logic, is a large part of learning how a robot works as well. So kind of learning that on your own is a good start also.
Can I add something to that as well? So I was a couple years ago, I did a course on Khan Academy about coding, and I learned how to code on JavaScript. And I know here at my school at North Catholic, we have a fantastic robotics team. They've been all around the country at different events and things. So I think that's a great way to just get involved with robotics and engineering and coding.
That was a great thing to add, Trevor. Just so many opportunities right there in your school that you can seek out and really just gain those skills. I appreciate that, Trevor. And really, I think this next question from Karen leads right into what Bambi is going to be doing with us today. But we really want to see the robots in action. Maya and Tal, who are 6 and 8, they want to know what the differences are between your robots. And they heard a rumor that there might be a new version of a Finch soon. So that might get us into seeing some of your robots in action.
Sure. And so I can take that one as I talk a little bit about what I do as the Director of Engineering at BirdBrain. So they are right. There is going to be a new version of the Finch. Tom showed you one that was wearing a costume. This is what it looks like uncostumed. And because a lot of you haven't used it, this is the old version of the Finch. So this is the one that Tom worked at the Create Lab to design in 2010. And don't get me wrong, it was a good robot for 2010, but you'll notice some things that maybe speak to when it was designed. You have to plug Finch 1 into your computer with this long USB cord. So it has to stay attached to your computer. And so there were also some limitations to the sensors and things he was able to use at that time. So somebody who's used the Finch might know that you have to be really right up on it for its obstacle sensors to work. They're not ideal. We discovered some things over the course of the 10 years that people have been using it. So even if I poll a group of 7th graders who've used the Finch 1 for any amount of time, they'll tell you the same 3 things that they wanted. They didn't like the cord. The obstacle sensors are not that great. They're really not. And sometimes for the other one, you get a variety. Sometimes people wanted thicker wheels, or talk about some other issues. So we had a lot of things that people have been telling us over the years that they wanted to see in the new robot. And so over the last couple of years, we've been designing the new ones. And so we took all those into account. So you can connect via Bluetooth to the robot now, so there's no cord. Or you can download a program directly onto the robot. So you can plug it in, download the program, and then unplug it and run your program so that you can run the robot without being connected at all. We have a much better obstacle sensor in the front there. We also, one of the things that's less obvious for the old one, but people ask us about, people did a lot of drawing with this one, and you kind of taped a marker onto the back like this. And that was okay, but then when your robot turned, you got these curves. You couldn't make it turn in place and draw like a square. You'd get kind of rounded edges and things like that. So for the new one, it's actually designed so that you can fit a marker, not this marker, but this is the marker I have to hand, right through the center of the robot there so that you can draw much better pictures. It also moves more accurately, in part because it doesn't have a cord attached to it. So we were able to make a lot of improvements, and that took that design process. A lot of you some of you maybe have talked about design in school, and you've talked about like getting to know what the problem is and creating prototypes and then refining those prototypes. And we've gone through a lot of that over the course of the last 2 years. Now, we already knew what the problem was because we had an existing robot. So people have called us on tech support. People have talked to us and been like, I wish it did this or that. So we're able to create a lot of prototypes to meet those needs. So we had a lot of 3D printed prototypes. We've been back and forth with the factory. We've been through a lot of revisions to make sure that everything works the way that we want it to. So part of what I've been doing as director of engineering is in some of the testing, in some of the making sure we know what we want the robot to do. Now, Tom and others have been involved in a lot of the hardware and firmware design. I've been primarily more on the software design. So we not only need the robot to work when it gets to you, but the robot requires software for you to program it. So a big part of what I've been doing is not only designing the software, what do we want it to look like? So I can show one of those here. So let me open it up. I'm not going to connect to the Finch, but I'm going to show what this one looks like. I say I am. Seems to have disappeared from my. So not only in figuring out what the software should look like, but making sure it actually operates that way. So it's not good enough for your software to work like 90% of the time. Normally we think if something's like works 90 or 95% of the time, like if you're talking about a class in school, it's usually fine. If you're talking about software that we're sending out to thousands of people, that's not fine at all. We do not need 1 in 20 people's software to not work. So a lot of what I sometimes directing engineering is exciting when you get to design something new. And sometimes it's a lot of making sure that every single thing got checked, including the boring things. Is it the right color? Is it in the right font? Does saving work in Android as well as iOS? It's a lot of the checking, making sure. So our software engineers will send me things and they'll be like, I think it's done. And then I'll have to write back. It's not done because negative numbers don't work. It's not done because it's the wrong color. And getting all of those details finished up is a big part of what I do at BirdBrain. Now, I also do some of the actual software development. We are developing some new products. So here in my dining room, I have a lot of extra equipment. And over the last year or so, I've become more involved in writing the apps to handle that equipment. So one of the things I think is nice about working for a small company is that you get to do a lot of different things. So I do some project management, I do some app development, I write some of the curriculum for Python and Java that's on our website, and I create some of the robots. So the dragon and the giant octopus and some of the others that you saw in Erica's office tour and some of the others that you see on the website are robots that I built as kind of giving people ideas about maybe what they could do with robotics. So one thing that maybe is interesting, Tom and I often speak together because we wound up in what look like now somewhat similar places, but had very different paths to get here. So I did not study engineering or computer science as an undergraduate. I was a math and physics major at a liberal arts college, and then chose to go to graduate school in robotics. While there, I did not work on robots like this. I worked on robotics for rehabilitation after stroke and traumatic brain injury. So my work was in helping people exercise with robotics to try and improve their hand ability to use their hand function after their brain had been injured. And I spent 6 years as a professor in that sort of thing, in working with students who are interested in rehabilitation, interested in physical therapy, and how technology interacts with that field. I am also was fully qualified to make artificial limbs, so I'd be happy to answer another viable technical career choice, just in case anybody has any questions about that one, I can answer for you. So we Tom had a fairly direct path, and my path was perhaps less direct. So I think and I think that's worth saying, because not everybody knows what they want to do right away. Sometimes you have to try out some different things to see what works best for you. So let's see, do we have questions here?
They had a question about where you can get these. So I know that once we get to play with them today, and Taylor's actually going to make a slide. I did put in the chat the platform that everyone can use. And I know Trevor and Austin are ready to do that as well. But once they see them today in action and they want to get one, how can they get one of these?
Yeah, we're not always great with marketing. So if you go to birdbraintechnologies.com, you can purchase them directly from us. And we also sell through some education resellers. So, ones that typically service schools, but primarily just directly from us at birdbraintechnologies.com. And so, yeah, we're going to play with remote robots right now. And this is an experimental thing that we've been developing since March, where you can program a robot remotely over the internet. So you watch the robot. I have 3 robots here, 3 Finch robots that are set up, Finch 2.0s. And Bambi is going to demonstrate programming one of those. And then Marie, you put in the chat the link to allow anybody actually to log into the other 2 and try to connect and try to move them. I'm going to put the robots on the floor and I'll point my phone at them. So you'll see them moving from ideally from my phone's camera. And then if you want to play with this later on, we're going to put another link in the chat. I actually have 5 of these robots set up at my house because I recognize there's a lot of you watching and you won't all get a chance to try it now. But there's 5 Hummingbird-based robots set up at my house that you can program anytime that have been running since March. And short of a thunderstorm that knocked out power a couple times, they've been pretty much up that whole time. So, so if you want to try programming a robot and don't have one, it's possible through this remote robots technology. So Bambi, I'll switch my phone over, and if you want to try connecting,
Awesome.
you're already connected to one actually.
Yep. I'm connected to robot A, so I can do a lot of different things there. So let's see, I can turn on my beak and tail lights and set those up to show kind of random colors. So let's see, so I can play some notes. And let's see, I'm gonna program the robot to move forward until I find an obstacle.
Ooh, tricky.
I say that I am.
Try to be an obstacle.
Let's see. Yes, Tom
Oh.
might be the obstacle here.
Oh, are you also programming B? Nope, somebody else is
Nope,
doing
that's
that.
not me.
Awesome.
I bet that's Trevor. Go for it.
It's time to put them on the floor, I think, because it's a little risky having them on the table.
All right. So I'm turning my wheels on and waiting till my robot finds an obstacle. And then it's going to stop. Stop, robot, stop. There we go. And now when Tom moves away, now I didn't put it in a loop, Tom. So now if I start it again, it will go looking for another obstacle. So on my end, I'm seeing a bunch of programming blocks. They look a little bit like Scratch, if any of you have used Scratch or something similar. There are blocks to move and turn the robot. There are blocks to turn the lights on. So for anybody who's opening it up and trying to connect to it, the thing that you need to know is that the blocks for the Finch are at the bottom of the menus. So if you see the motion menu, scroll all the way to the bottom until you see blocks that say Finch at the beginning. The blocks at the top move and turn, those move a sprite on your screen. Those won't move the robot. So you want to make sure that you're using the blocks that say Finch, and they're all the way at the bottom of the menus. Now, I don't think you can hear it necessarily over Tom's phone, but you can play music, you can do lights. There are sensors, though those are a little bit challenging to use at a distance because, for instance, you don't know what the level of light in Tom's room is like or something like that. But let's see, I don't know, Tom, is anybody else giving that a try where you are?
I see Robot B is also in use, but it's not moving right now. So one thing we should say on that link that we sent, to connect to a robot, you want to press the C key. And then to disconnect from the robot, you would press the X key. And disconnecting lets somebody else have a chance to program.
And I do see a question in the chat about instructions, and absolutely. So that's a big part of what we have to provide on our website is instructions for people to use. You can use the robots in a number of different programming languages. So from things that are more block-based up through Python and Java, and we do provide instructions for using all of those languages with all of our robots. Now, if you go to the webpage today, you may or may not see the instructions for Finch 2 because they are scheduled to go live any day now. So I don't believe those are up just yet, but they will be very shortly. So right now, when you go to the website, it'll ask you what robot you have. And Finch 2 isn't a choice right now because it's not available in the store. We're still waiting for them. They are on the boat on their way to us so that we can get them to people. So those are scheduled to go live soon.
Trevor, is that you working Finch B?
That actually isn't me. I'm still trying to get the link to load in.
Okay, okay. Austin, are you using Finch B? Someone is making that into a bumper Finch there.
Yeah, and C definitely moved forward and its tail light turned on. So,
It says the robots aren't available. I'm trying to connect to Finch A though.
so most likely all the robots, in fact, it looks like all the robots are now, actually B is now available. It was not, but now it is.
And I will disconnect from A so that somebody else can play.
So with the number of people watching and only 3 robots, I'm assuming that it will be tricky to get connected. But it looks like we're having some success because I've seen all 3 robots move already. So pretty cool.
And you really have to think about the times that we're in, that we have 90 different people, mostly classrooms of students, some students watching at home, able to see these robots join in code and make them move across the other side of our region. Just really applaud you at BirdBrain for being able to make that pivot and make that available to students. Once they get the robot and the robot is purchased either for their classroom or at home or all the other resources.
Yes, that's correct. So everything else that you need is online. That includes like all of the software that you might need to install, which is all free, as well as lessons and things for how to use your robots. That is incidentally a very nice triangle from whoever is currently controlling what I think is robot A.
And we run professional development as well. It's all online now. Now, in some cases that's paid, but we also have kind of an asynchronous recorded course of professional development for teachers who want to learn, who just, it's like 15 short videos that teach you how to do some basic programming with the robots, basic building with the Hummingbird kit, that kind of thing. Yeah, and then I've been having fun with this technology lately. I've been running Finch playgrounds, where we have 6 of these robots set up in a studio, and we have teachers come in and just play with them for half an hour to an hour and program them and learn some programming that way too.
And that was actually Heather from Northern Cambria School District who was moving Finch B.
All
Nice
right.
man, Heather. But she likes him a lot, had a lot of positive comments to say. I think one day you're going to be able to start like a Finch Robot Olympics.
Yeah.
Virtually. These are super cool. We'll let this go for maybe like another 4 minutes, letting different people log on, be able to move them around. Austin and Trevor, if you have any other questions for Erica, Tom, or Bambi while they're being moved around, please jump in with your questions. Same with anything over in chat. And Taylor had put up on the screen just the link to be able to log in. If you weren't able to see it over in chat.
What is your favorite BirdBrain robot?
Let's see. Since Tom's running the camera, I'll take a stab at this one. So we make the Finch and the Hummingbird. The trick with answering that question is that you can make your own robot with the Hummingbird. So I have a really hard time choosing my favorite of the robots that I or other people have made. Though I do have a soft spot in my heart for the dragon. Right now, I'm super excited about Finch 2, just because I'm one of the only people who's had the chance to use it. So I'm really excited to see as it goes out into the world in the next couple of months, to see what other people do, because I find that really interesting when somebody does something that I never thought of with the robots. There was a teacher outside of Pittsburgh who with the Hummingbird does like a robot Shakespeare project. And I find that one really exciting because it's something that I would have never thought on my own to do. Someone has a hand raised. I don't know what to do about that.
That's okay. Marcella actually had a question for you, Trevor. Trevor, in your time at North Catholic, have you ever worked with these particular robots in school or ones like them?
I haven't worked with these ones specifically, but I've worked with other robots through the North Catholic Robotics program. And like, I just think it's really cool. Like we're able to like customize them. And I know like we've made a robot that like picks things up and like moves blocks around or can like push another object. And it's just really cool like to see the customizability of the robots.
All right, A is available now, if anybody's still trying to connect. And actually, I'm going to reset them all, or I'll reset B and C so that they become available again also. All right, they're going again.
Any other questions about what robotics engineers do or what anything else about robotics?
I actually had a quick question. I just wanted to know, like, what do you guys have next for the company? Like, what's your next big project coming up?
So right now, I mean, a big push right now is getting Finch 2 out the door, because we have a bunch of pre-orders. Some people who pre-ordered like a year ago, because you can imagine, particularly with COVID, things got delayed. So getting those out the door to the people who are waiting is number one on our priority list. But we are also in the process, we are still collaborating with the Create Lab, and we have some funding from the National Science Foundation to develop some tools for elementary math. So after we get Finch 2 launched, that will be a big focus for us. It's already a big focus of mine. The engineering team, you can imagine, because it takes time to order products and have them ready, the engineering team kind of has to be 6 to 9 months ahead of everybody else in terms of thinking about what's coming up next. So I'm already spending a lot of time on app development for products for elementary mathematics.
I know we are just about out of time. I really wanted to thank everybody for being part of this today. I'm going to send it over to Audrey to say goodbye to everybody and just let you know what we have for the rest of the 9 days. But from me, just thank you so much for being a part of today and sharing these with us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that was great. I think we did have one more hand up, so it seemed like we could go longer, but we want to be sensitive to time. So way cool. I can't thank you enough, Tom and Bambi. You're doing incredible work. Really appreciate you letting us, get under the covers a little bit, have some fun, share, and actually share about your own journey, because it's never a straight line. And I think that's really important for people to hear. None of us ever really grow up, right? And I think it's important for all of us to know that experimentation and doing things that you love and having some of the right skills can, make you just have a lot of fun in your work with a lot of meaning and purpose. And that's really what we've seen here today with BirdBrain. We're big champions of your company, BirdBrain, here at the Tech Council. And I think you have some new fans. And I want to thank Marie for today and for the work that she's doing. If anyone has questions or comments, definitely reach out to her. You know where to find her. So really appreciate the audience. I want to give a shout out though to all of our sponsors. They make this possible, but not only do they make it possible, they're also great places to work, and they do a lot in tech as well. So Philips is right here. They're doing work on sleep apnea. They did a whole push on ventilators as we got into the onset of COVID. A lot of people there working on innovation as it relates to healthcare. And that's right here in our backyard. Shell Games is probably the largest game production house in the United States. I like to brag about that on their behalf, but they're also solving a lot of problems in terms of people learning science and math and chemistry and the like, and a whole lot of fun in their environment. And Huntington Bank, while many of you may think of them as a bank, they have a lot of interesting opportunities in the field of technology and imagines data security, data privacy, and the new world of banking. So there are sponsors, but there are also companies that you should pay attention to. So thank you so much again, both of you from BirdBrain, and let us have a chance to, get inside your offices, even though you're working from home. We get a sense of what's happening. The work goes on. So tomorrow we have an adventure in software development in the Microsoft Arcade. So I can't wait to see that. I'm glad you joined us for just a few. Oh, you can see the whole week. We've got Microsoft, Shell Games, Giant Eagle. They have an innovation center and industrial scientific. You're all going to be very surprised about what kind of innovation goes on inside each and every one of these companies. Like, go out to the BirdBrain site, stay connected to them. They're doing amazing things. They're great citizens of our community, and we're cheering them on. And thank you, Marie, for doing the work here as well. This is Audrey with the Tech Council. If there's anything we can do for any of you, please don't hesitate, reach out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.